Hello, everybody. I just wanted to make a really quick video on how to use your textbook, as well as how to use your note catchers. So note catchers that I'm going to be publishing, they'll correspond to each of the chapters in your textbook, just to help you keep track of things like key terms, the objective, and then you'll have some questions there that you'll answer so I can check for understanding on the material that is provided for you in the textbook. This is the textbook. It's all online. It's provided by the American Yap Association, which is something that's published out of Stanford. I've encountered it a few times before. I've never used it in a class, so I am somewhat familiarizing myself with it as well. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of it. I find it to be really short. And in a lot of ways, that can be good. I think the brevity can be somewhat of a nice thing in terms of navigating that huge amount of history within a short period of time. So I can appreciate it for that. However, it is fairly reduction. The kind of a reduction is sort of a look on history, which means it omits a lot of really important facts. And there's a lot of things that I'm going to probably be including to you guys supplementally in a lecture so that you do get a better idea of sort of the past and why things have been done the way that they have been done. With that said, though, just really quick, here's how we kind of navigate the textbook. You'll go to this website, which is americanyap.com. You can also Google this if you're having trouble navigating it from your address bar. Each chapter is going to be provided to you on this page as a hyperlink. Okay. Within the chapter, you can open those chapters. You'll have all your reading here. Now, there may be some instances that you'll see in your discussion where I'm asking you to look at a primary source. And if there is a specific primary source that I'm looking at, I'll name it. And you'll find it at the end of each chapter, also provided in a hyperlink. Primary sources, again, are sources that are published at the time. They're sort of contemporaneously made when a certain event in history took place. Okay, so they happen at the time. A newspaper publishing, a journal entry, a photograph. All of these things can be primary sources. We're actually going to talk quite a bit more about primary sources and how to best interpret those within the greater context of history in our source analysis project. So I will probably have you start working with more primary sources after we get started on that project, because I want to give you that sort of lesson on what they are. Okay. Historians use, for the most part, two types of sources: primary sources as well as secondary sources. You can use tertiary sources in the event you're doing something like a treatise or legal history. So as you read through these, again, they're fairly easy to read. They do go by pretty quickly, and that is a nice aspect of this text. And obviously, though, with it being as kind of, I guess, absent of a lot of material, we'll have to supplement things with lecture. I'll put those lectures in. I'll hyperlink them in with your discussion. So if there's a lecture that's going to correspond to the discussion question that I'm asking you to answer, I'll put a hyperlink to that lecture, and then you can listen to that. And again, going to try to keep those as brief as possible, because I'm going to assume that you've been reading the text as well. So in the text, you've got that. A nice aspect of this text as well: if this online format really not working for you, or you're finding as you're looking at it as a website through that hyperlink, hey, I can't highlight things. Hey, I can't really do anything with this. You have PDF formats as well, so you can download the PDF formats. You also have printable copies. If you just want to outright print a paper copy, highlight it, all of those things, you can do that too. Obviously, it's going to be quite a bit of ink, but if you have a place where you can do that at home or at a library, obviously you can do that as well. What I usually do, and actually, I mean, a lot of people might do this too, is I just essentially open up each chapter that I'm going to be working with. I save it as a PDF, okay, and then I open it as a PDF, and then I can add notes, and then I can highlight, and then I can do all the same things that I would do with a regular textbook. So as you're reading through your text, you're going to see that I have a corresponding note catcher for each of them. For instance, this is the chapter 2 note catcher. One thing, again, I'm not a big fan of this text is that they don't articulate an objective at the beginning of their chapter. Therefore, they don't really give you any sort of guided point of what it is that they're trying to tell you, right? They kind of just sort of fade in from subject to subject. When one group of people or something might come to a conclusion or something, they don't really give you anything conclusive. They just kind of stop talking about it. And just in a lot of ways, I'm not really a big fan of the way that this is written, for a number of reasons. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to be too critical of it. Again, there are aspects of it that I like. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and just smash the textbook. But because they don't give you an objective, I try to articulate one. I try to create one. So after reading the chapter, okay, here's generally what they're trying to tell you. So use these to your advantage. Read these objectives first, and then go ahead and read your chapter. Okay, this is going to tell you, hey, this is what you're trying to learn. As you're taking notes, fill out some things that are essentially co-aligned with that objective, or some notes, just some bullet points. Kind of here's where If we're talking about, say, Spanish powers, make some notes, right, about Spanish powers or understanding the objectives of the Spanish, economic, culturally, religiously, all the objectives of Spanish missionaries or all the objectives of Spanish conquistadors within these times, within these places. You can make notes here. When you do turn in your note catchers, I'm not going to grade you on the objective. If you're not taking notes here for objective notes, again, I'm not going to really factor that into your grade. I'm just giving you the space to do it, giving you the space to stay organized. From lecture, these are the kind of bullet points, key terms, phrases, places, concepts, ideas I'm putting here. Okay, so essentially go through what is Camino Real, what does that translate to, what's its importance, write it down. The Black Legend, what is that, right? It mentions it quite a bit in your text. Now, it doesn't give you a bold print term with a definition like you would a glossary, but what it's going to give you is essentially kind of a chapter or paragraph, sections of the chapter, where they're talking about the Black Legend. So you'll kind of write down what it is, what that concept is. And as you're reading, they may mention it again, and then you can add to it, right? How it now has an effect, say, on British colonization of the Americas, Dutch colonization of the Americas, as you sort of read through and discover more and more about that concept. The Northwest Passage, all of these sorts of phrases, all of these important people, things that I want you to get, kind of understand. Then you'll have questions here on your note catcher. These are just quick checks for understanding. Give me about a paragraph or so. And some of them are actually pretty quick questions. Okay, I think in the last one, I asked what group of European people had explored, say, I think it was prior to Columbus. And the answer is really just Scandinavians, right? And you can give me a little bit about that, right? Scandinavians who went to Greenland and then came into Newfoundland, Canada. And that's about that. You can generally tell. A longer answer, right? Something that's about a paragraph is really just going to be contingent upon how long the question is. And you'll know how long it takes you to answer. Okay. So if it's a few sentences, that's fine too. Okay. Especially, for a shorter sentence. Okay. I might even make just an indication. If there's something where I want to see like 2 paragraphs, I'll make that indication. Okay. So just look at this paragraph, couple sentences are fine for those shorter questions. And this is really just for me, mostly. It's also for you, because a lot of your essay questions on your exam, your midterm, as well as your final, they're going to come from these types of concepts. So this really familiarizes yourself with it. It also helps me just check for understanding. Where are we getting this? Where are we not getting this? Also, maybe what kind of ideas and things are you sort of forming from the text? And would those ideas be better supplemented with other material, because the text has left out a lot of material. So should we then discuss that? That also tells me, okay, a lecture is probably going to be needed for this. We're sort of getting a little off track here. All right. So that's what that's for. Again, the links for the note catchers are going to be here in your content section in note catchers. When you open up the note catcher link here, you are not going to have editing privileges. You'll have viewing privileges. Okay. But what you do is you go File, then you make a copy. Okay. Make a copy of the note catcher. Okay. And then you can title it. So as you get that copy, what I usually do in other classes that I've had, where I've had to use a note catcher, I'll just put like my name, Cloyd, and I can't type because you guys are looking, Cloyd Daniel. Okay, and then right there. Then I know whose note catcher it is, and I know which one it's covering. Okay. Then you have your copy, work off your copy, and then submit your copy in the assignments tab. Okay. Look for those due dates. You've got June 10th for your second note catcher. You got June 5th for your first one. Okay. Discussion questions. We have just wrapped up our due date on the Module 1 discussion question. I will be posting Module 2 discussion question by today. Going to be posting it actually tonight with the supplemental lecture, and it is June 2nd. Okay, so I'll have that up with the due date, with the requisite prompt, as well as a word amount. Okay, so if you do have any questions still, do let me know. If not, that's how we use it, and I'll be posting more videos like this just to instruct you with the different elements of our D2L course and how it's set up. All right, thank you guys.